Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today we are taking a look at the 2022 NFL mock draft by Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports. Before we get into the video, just want to thank you guys for just the tremendous amount of support we've had the last couple months. Just a couple of brothers who love talking ball, and you guys have been just absolutely awesome with the views, the subscriptions, the comments. It means a lot to us. Without further ado, let's get into it. Jacksonville Jaguars picking number one. I think everybody wants to see them go with the tackle. Trevor Lawrence just kind of got screwed his rookie year with just an absolute train wreck with Urban Meyer to how they use some of their offensive skill guys. I just don't know if Ikemekwana is the pick because I think he has the most question marks when it comes to pass protecting. Hasn't played tackle that long, kind of switched over during his second year there at NC State. No doubt an absolute road grader in the run game. Everybody knows that. But I feel like your pick here is to protect Trevor Lawrence. I think Charles Cross. I think Evan Neal might be the pick if you want to go offensive tackle. I also think just top prospects like Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux. We're going to pause this video. Kayvon Thibodeaux also are the move. That being said, he goes to Ikemekwana, maybe trying to establish a ground game there in Jacksonville. Don't really love that pick. Aiden Hutchinson, too. I think that's the pick to make. I think he's the best prospect on the board. He's our number one prospect. Hometown kid. It makes sense. Kind of seems like what Dan Campbell's trying to build. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, you might not find a better off-the-field guy. As a Michigan fan, I saw firsthand the impact he had on this program. Special football player, but also a special person in the locker room, too. I think that's the pick. I think the Lions are just sprinting that card in, to be honest with you. Houston Texans go Kayvon Thibodeaux. If they're not trading out of the pick, which I think they should, I think they got a lot of holes to fill. I think they might just want to trade Laremy Tunsil, hopefully trade Deshaun Watson, just get a ton of draft capital and just really start this rebuild. If you don't trade out of this pick, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux is the next best prospect, and you go take him. I think it's interesting, though, because this pick doesn't have the amount of value trade-wise that I think in recent years it has. There's no elite quarterback that teams are going to be trading up for, and there's no like standout prospect either. There's a bunch of solid top 10 prospects, but I wouldn't say like Kayvon Thibodeaux, as good as this guy is as a football player, is worth giving up such massive amounts of draft capital to go and get, especially with how deep this edge class really is. I think this is where like the pick really gets started, though. I mean, the Texans have just so much power in this draft, whether it's to trade players like Laremy Tunsil, like a Deshaun Watson, or trade this top 3 pick. Jets go get Evan Neal. I think this makes sense. I think he's a great prospect. Number one offensive tackle for us, followed closely behind by Charles Cross as the offensive tackle position rankings go. I think he's the most complete guy, whether it's in the run game, just moving bodies around, or in pass pro. I think Charles Cross leans more pass pro. Ikemekwana leans more run game, and Evan Neal is kind of that perfect blend. I don't know if they go with another monster offensive tackle. I mean, they just picked Mekhi Becton 2 years ago, and the jury's still out on him, but it hasn't been like the best start to his career. Evan Neal, similar guy who's just an absolute mountain. I think he's a little bit better of an athlete than Mekhi, though, but I think it's a good pick. The Jets continue to try to build that offensive line, which they put a lot of draft capital in the last couple of years. Charles Cross off the board at pick 5. I love this guy. I mean, you watch him. He has just such smooth feet, great athlete, mirror, and pass rushers. The biggest concern is that frame. Like, is he going to be able to get moved around at 6'5", 310? It's there, though. Like, he has a very good anchor. I think that's a result of how just athletic he is and just the experience he has pass protecting that air raid Mike Leach offense. I mean, they're pass pro almost every single play, and Charles Cross was as good as it gets. You got your 2 real solid offensive tackle bookends. First quarterback off the board, Kenny Pickett. I mean, I don't hate the pick. I think Kenny Pickett's the most NFL ready guy. I think if I'm the Panthers, I think I'm going and getting a good prospect here, whether it's Kyle Hamilton. There's no offensive tackle, which hurts. I think they could certainly go with an offensive tackle. That being said, Kenny Pickett, the best QB ready guy. I think he's gonna be able to start year one and make it happen. I think Malik Willis is my QB1 just because of those traits, the arm strength, the athleticism. Kenny Pickett's more of just a kind of a vanilla guy. Like he's very accurate. He's a good processor, but there's no elite traits, like no crazy arm talent that really gets you excited. Seventh pick, they go David Ajabo. I just am not quite comfortable taking what they said. He's an unfinished product. I think he has the highest ceiling possibly in this draft. I mean, state champion, the 100-meter sprint, just twitched up and had great productions last year. But before that, he only played 25 snaps. So there's a lot of question marks with like sample size. That being said, the ceiling's there. Just you didn't really see much in the run game. And just there's a lot of question marks in his game. So, like, are you taking him with a top 10 pick? I don't know. Atlanta Falcons go Kyle Hamilton. I mean, that's just a value pick. Kyle Hamilton is one of the best prospects on the board. They haven't 22nd prospect range, which makes absolutely zero sense. That being said, I have him as a top 5 guy. I mean, you could argue that he's the best prospect. I mean, from a trade standpoint and from what you saw on the field, range is phenomenal. 6'4", 220, dude could literally play linebacker. He is special. He's a unicorn. We haven't really seen a safety like him in recent years. I think Derwin James might be the best comp for him. Ahmad Gardner, I like Ahmad Gardner. I just like Derek Stingley more. Ahmad Gardner probably put out the best film of any of the cornerbacks in the last couple of years, but Derek Stingley's film from that true freshman year, just you can't really ignore it. I think there's a lot of reasons why Derek Stingley hasn't played either that well or that much. I mean, LSU as a program has just had some serious turmoil, and he's been banged up, had COVID. I still am going Derek Stingley one. I don't even know if you're getting another guy on the other side of Patrick Surtain, and this is a young and really good cornerback room. So I don't hate the pick, but I'm not in love with it either. The Jets got to be jumping for joy, though. Derek Stingley at 10, I think, is one of the better picks of the draft. I'm super high on Derek Stingley. The time I won't be high on him is if he at the combine isn't working out, has some sort of medical problems. But if he's ready to rock, tests well like he should. I mean, he was a freak coming out of high school. He was so good that they wanted to get him the ball in offense. That's how special this dude is from an athletic standpoint. That's a great pick for them. I think that might be the best pick in the draft we've seen so far. The Commanders go Matt Corral. So Malik Willis continuing to slide. They need to go quarterback. I mean, you can't trot out Taylor Heineke again. He just doesn't have it. I mean, he's decent backup, but he's not a guy you want to be trotting out for 17 games. Matt Corral, get him in there. I just worry about Matt Corral and how much we saw him being pro ready. When you watch a lot of his film, it's a lot of RPO, very little drop back, step up in the pocket, manipulate a pocket, go through progressions and deliver a ball. So a lot of read a linebacker, throw an inside slant and RPO. That being said, the athleticism is also enticing. He's got good quick release. There's a lot of things you got to like about him, but there's also a lot of question marks that some other guys might not have. Although a lot of the quarterbacks have a lot of question marks, if we're being honest. So I don't hate the pick. I don't love it. I'm not going to go to bat with any of these quarterbacks, to be quite frank. Trent McDuffie to 12 to the Vikings. Patrick Peterson gone in free agency. I'm a huge Trent McDuffie guy. I think he needs to be in the right scheme because I worry about leaving him on islands and man coverage just because a little bit shorter of a guy, a little less length than some of the other guys like Sauce Gardner and Derek Stingley. And you have questions about the long speed. He wasn't really tested in that department. I mean, they had a lot of drop him back, keep his eye. I mean, they played a lot of zone coverage at Washington, and he's got elite short area quickness. I mean, when it comes to sitting in zone, reading the quarterback's eyes and breaking on the football, it doesn't get better than Trent McDuffie. Super dominant at the college level. Again, I worry about him being battle tested in man coverage versus other guys like a Roger McCreary, who was battle time. I mean, he would toe-to-toe with John Mechie in the Iron Bowl, man coverage, very little safety help, and held his own. And that's you got to like to see that. Pick 13, Treylon Burks to the Browns. I think the Browns got to go wide receiver. Treylon Burks isn't my guy. More of a Garrett Wilson, more of a Chris Olave guy. I'm more of a guy who can separate from the line of scrimmage, as opposed to a guy who's just fast and big. Traylon Burks, he has special size and speed, and I don't mean to fall into the DK trap again, where it's like, oh, he's fast and big, but doesn't necessarily run clean routes and create separation. Like when you're that big, when you're that fast, it doesn't matter. That being said, look at the quarterbacks or the wide receivers who are dominating today's NFL football. I mean, Cooper Kupp, he runs a 6'4" or 6. He runs a, what is it, 4.640? I'm getting all my numbers mixed up. 4.640. He's no blazer, but he gets separation, he finds open space, and he's very reliable catching the football. Same thing with Devonta Adams. He's not going to test out like an athletic freak. Great off the line of scrimmage, creates separation early, and then has really good hands. Guys like who might translate to that: Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jahan Dotson. Not necessarily guys like Traylon Burks and Drake London. So you're getting the first overall wide receiver. I'm going a different direction, and so I'm not a huge fan of this pick. Ravens go get Travon Walker. This is a popular spot for him to be mocked. I think there's other guys. Travon Walker is going to be like a 3-tech, and the traits are unreal. I mean, the way he moves at 6'5", 275 is special. It's tremendous power in his hands. And they're right. You can line him up kind of 3-4. I don't know if he's playing much 5-tech just because I don't know if that bend is there. That being said, very powerful, very big, good get off. There's a lot of things to like, but there's also a lot of things to like with other edge guys. Like the next pick at pick 15, Jermaine Johnson, who I absolutely love. Have a top 15 grade on, maybe even a top 10 grade on. He said it best. No one had a better Senior Bowl week than he had. Such a big week that he just took off the game. Didn't even play in the Senior Bowl game. Tape from 2021 is phenomenal. I mean, I watched him opening week against Notre Dame. I think it was a Sunday night game, and he absolutely dominated. He's got 34-inch arms. He's got a great get off. He's very powerful, good at extending guys out, good at getting his hands on guys first, has good bender on the edge. Like this guy is he checks a lot of boxes to be an elite edge rusher. Also very good in the run game. Like this dude is the real deal, which is crazy to think that he couldn't find the field at University of Georgia. That maybe just goes to show how good Georgia is, but this dude's special. He's really special. Tyler Linderbaum, Jason Kelce might be on the way out. You go get the best center in the draft. He's a guy that wherever you take him outside of the top 5, I wouldn't argue. If the Giants go up and get him at 7, couldn't really argue that. And this guy's film is unbelievable. He's about as solid as they come. It's hard to find bad reps, like singular plays where he didn't win. It's hard to find on his film. And just so dominant, great at working to the second level and taking on linebackers. He's a good athlete. He's good at using his leverage. Former wrestler. I'm sure many of you guys saw him taking down Tristan Wirfs and beating him in the Iowa State Championship high school wrestling. And this guy knows how to use his body. He knows how to use his leverage. Yeah, he's not the biggest guy at 290, but you don't have to be big when you know how to use your body and use your leverage. And he certainly does. Pick 17, Garrett Wilson, steal. I'm very high on Garrett Wilson. I think he just got that it factor. A little bit like Odell. Phenomenal hand. Just makes some catches that are just absolutely insane. Creates good separation. Extremely special with the ball in his hands. I think at pick 17, that would be a phenomenal get, especially if they're not able to figure it out with Mike Williams. I think Garrett Wilson will be better than Mike Williams. Very high on this dude. Pick 18, Jameson Williams. I really think the Saints have to go up and get a quarterback just because they don't have any money to go out and get one, especially if they don't trade Michael Thomas. Maybe this is assuming they do. That being said, Jameson Williams is super special with the speed. He doesn't check as many boxes in terms of creating separation and running the cleanest routes, which he does, but I think Olave, Garrett Wilson do it a little better. Jameson Williams is my wide receiver 3. By no means do I not like him. I mean, you can't teach the speed he has. You just can't teach that. And so I can see why the Saints want to go up and get him. But I think you got to go quarterback, especially if someone like Malik Willis is on the board who has the ability to be a franchise guy, in my opinion. Really the only quarterback that I think could be a top quarterback in the league. The other guys, look at Kenny Pickett, I think can be a top 15, top 10 quarterback in the league. But I don't see Kenny Pickett being a guy you want to look at in January and have you win games. I think Malik Willis has the capability to do that. That's why I'm leaning maybe Malik Willis here over Jameson Williams. And I'm definitely going Chris Olave over Jameson Williams. Pick 19, the Eagles go get a linebacker, which they don't normally do. They seem to just not value this position. As far as linebackers go, I'm happy that Nakobe Dean is LB1 in this draft. I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. I think it's close with him and Devin Lloyd, but I think Dean is the better one. My opinion on linebackers is there's a lot of good linebackers in day two. Shannon Tindall, Brian Asamoah, Brandon Smith, Chad Mumma, Christian Harris, maybe. He might go in the first round, but maybe. There's a lot of value to be had at that linebacker position. Leo Chenal, to name another one. I don't know if I love getting a linebacker here. I might like waiting to for that round 2, round 3. That's kind of the sweet spot when it is come to linebackers, but you know how the draft works. You have a guy you love, go and get him. Nakobe Dean at 19. I mean, I'm a huge fan of him, so you won't see me complaining about Nakobe Dean at 19. 20, Zion Johnson. No secret, the Steelers. And they said Malik Willis still on the board. I'm surprised he doesn't have him going there. Apparently, Mike Tomlin loves Malik Willis. I'm sure Mike Tomlin's just done with having a quarterback who just can't move around in the pocket. I mean, the last couple of years, it's been Roethlisberger. The dude was an absolute statue. That being said, you're getting interior offensive lineman and Zion Johnson, who can play center, showed it at the Senior Bowl, who's a day one starter. I think this guy's a pretty much a blue chip when it comes to coming in, playing day one. Like you're not missing on Zion Johnson. That being said, in a similar argument that was made to linebackers, there's a lot of good interior offensive linemen in the day 2, day 3 range, like a Jamari Salyer, who I'd rather get in day 3 than a Zion Johnson. Jamari Salyer, day 2, probably round 3, as opposed to getting a Zion Johnson with the top 20 pick. That being said, again, good prospect. Go up and get him. He's going to be really good for you. George Karlaftis at 21. He's a guy who's been sliding, and I think he's been sliding just because Jermaine Johnson's seemingly taking over that edge 3 spot. So you got Hutch, Phibbs, now Jermaine Johnson, and maybe David Ajabo. And then you got George Karlaftis. I think this guy's a relatively high floor. Like, he's not going to be a bust because that power is going to translate. He can absolutely collapse pockets. Was getting double and triple teamed all year at Purdue. Really the only impact player on that defense side of the ball. You just didn't really see, like, the ability to win around the edge. That bend, the speed and bend really wasn't there. That's really not his game, though. His game is more, I'm going to be inside, I'm going to go right through tackles, as opposed to kind of bending around him. He's a good pick here at 21. I think a guy that Bill Belichick will really like. Andrew Booth here. I mean, the Raiders have probably been the worst drafting football team in all of football. They've had a ton of capital in the first couple of rounds the last couple of years. They really haven't hit on any of them, besides maybe like a Hunter Renfrow, Max Crosby. But their top picks, they just have missed. Damian Arnett, Colin Farrell. Andrew Booth here is a guy with significant traits. The film at Clemson wasn't great. I think that might worry some people. That being said, cornerback, it is an important position to have good traits. Can you run with the elite wide receivers? Andrew Booth can. He's physical. He's got good ball skills. Just not quite as consistent as you'd like. But at 22, I think the value is pretty good there. Kenyon Green, see, he's a guy that I'd rather go over Zion Johnson because I think he's a little bit more of a difference maker when it comes to running the football and moving people around. I think Zion Johnson is very steady. I think Kenyon Green could be more like a Quentin Nelson, where it's like I'm a difference maker as an interior offensive lineman. In the versatility, similar with Zion Johnson, is really appealing. I mean, he's played pretty much everywhere at A&M, which is enticing. And the versatility to play a lot of positions on the offensive line is important, especially when guys are getting rolled up on, getting hurt a lot. This is a very good pick. We have a top 15 grade on Kenyon Green. The positional value isn't quite there, but at 23, I like that pick a lot. 24, the Dallas Cowboys go get Logan Hall, a guy that if my buddy ROC was on the pod right now, he would be very happy. My problem with Logan Hall is I'm not sure where he's winning. A little bit of a tweener. I think maybe one of the better 3 techs. I just don't know how well that fits into the scheme. He carries 6'6", 275 extremely well. He's a very good athlete. He uses his length really well and he's got a tremendous motor. There's just other guys on the defensive line that I think I like a little bit more. And I think there's other positions, especially for Dallas, guys like Devin Lloyd. Um, People are talking about cutting Amari Cooper. And so guys like Chris Olave, a lot of guys who have some value there at Dallas that might be more impactful than a Logan Hall pick. And I'm just not the biggest fan of Logan Hall. I think when you saw him play talent like a Dylan Parham from Memphis, like he wasn't as dominant. It's easy to dominate some of the lower ranked teams when you're playing in a non-power 5 conference. How are you playing when you play the big dogs? I mean, he wasn't like a standout in the Senior Bowl either. So I have some questions about him, but 6'6", 275 moves well. Bills go get Devin Lloyd, so maybe Tremaine Edmonds. There's some question marks about what we're doing there. Devin Lloyd, I'm very high on. Again, that linebacker spot in the first round, like who's gonna cave in and get it at value? And Devin Lloyd might be a value pick there. I think we have him around 20th best prospect on our big board, so it's a position of need. Again, I'm looking at maybe some cornerbacks like a Roger McCrary. When you're trotting out Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace to go cover Tyreek Hill in company against Kansas City in a playoff game in January, you don't love that. Getting a guy like maybe Roger McCrary might be the move here. I would want to try McDuffie because I think he fits really in with the Buffalo Bills and in that zone coverage. I'm not going to complain about Devin Lloyd, though. There's also some guys on the interior, like a Jordan Davis at this time. If you guys are new to the show, I'm not a huge Jordan Davis fan, but I think we do need some guys who can move people around on that interior of the defensive line. Ed Oliver can't do it himself. We got a bunch of veterans who are up in free agency that I don't think are going to come back. So maybe Jordan Davis is the move there. Pick 26, Trevor Penning. This makes sense. Trevor Penning, I think, still a work in progress. When you're 6'7", 320, he's a pretty good athlete. Flashed at the Senior Bowl. I think it was like from what I saw, it was a little up and down. There were some times where he got beat, he got a little bit, but there's also times where he's just mauling people. It kind of fits what Mike Vrabel's trying to do on that offensive line, move people around, get a big time run game going. So I'm not going to complain too much about that pick. I know if my brother was on the pod right now, he would be hooting and hollering a little bit. He's not a Trevor Penning guy. I think he's just kind of a poser a little bit, poser tough guy. My brother, keep in mind, 5'8" guy telling Trevor Penning, who's 6'7", 321 pounds, that he's a fake tough guy. Love for him to say that to Trevor Penning's face there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers go get Devontae Wyatt, a guy who just the way Georgia ran the defense, he wasn't really able to flash. A lot of like taking on double teams, two gapping, and letting the linebackers go to work. Which I'm not blaming Dan Lanning or any of the coaches, Kirby Smart at Georgia. Like when you have linebackers like Channing Tindall, Quay Walker, and Nakobe Dean, let your linebackers cook. But when Devontae Wyatt got to the Senior Bowl and they were like turning him loose and telling him to go be a playmaker, he was being a playmaker. And so I don't hate that. I think Devontae Wyatt certainly played himself into a first-round pick. That being said, there's some other interior defensive linemen that I really like. Perrion Winfrey, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of. Interesting that he jumps his teammate Jordan Davis. We'll see if either of those guys go with the next couple picks. Green Bay Packers go get Drake London. So you don't really know what the Aaron Rodgers situation is going to be like. I'm getting the vibes that he's not going to be there. He doesn't seem like he wants to be there. So starting to build around Jordan Love, go get him a huge target who can win at the catch point in Drake London. I like the pick. I like the value. Again, maybe I like Chris Olave a little bit more. I think having Devontae Adams there for so long, you might appreciate just the clean route running and ability to get separation that Chris Olave brings. But they're going with the shiny object in Drake London. But I don't hate it. Daniel Falele, I pretty much hate. I mean, this is really bad. This is it's bad. There are so many question marks around Daniel Falele that are unanswered. You can't use a top 30 pick on him. 6'9", 380 pounds. Can he just stay healthy? You see, like guys like Mekhi Becton, like human bodies aren't supposed to be that big, and I'm no doctor, but your body starts to break down when you're carrying almost 400 pounds on your frame. Yes, I get the enticing, like drafting this just mammoth of a man, but there's a lot of question marks. Does he have the feet to play like with elite edge rushers? Like, can he get out there and go get those guys? Not sure. I mean, there wasn't a lot of pass pro happening at Minnesota, and if it was, a lot of play action. Two, if you kick him in the interior, like can you play with a low enough pad level? It's hard to play with good leverage and pad level when you're 380 pounds. Can you get out of your stance and be powerful? You didn't really see that very much. Like the guy's big and he can move people because of the sheer size. I'm more of a guy, go get a sick athlete in Quentin Nelson or Tyler Linderbaum who can just rifle out of their stance and go move people, as opposed to a guy just like slowly gets up and just moves people. And we lost him. There we go. We're back. Who can just rifle out of the stance and move people. Daniel Flaley didn't show that. And it's like, I'm not even picking him in round 3, to be quite honest. Like, I am not very high on this dude. The film wasn't great. Yeah, I get it. The upside, like if this guy works, he could be sick, but you can say that with a lot of prospects. And there's a lot more questions than answers in this dude's game. Daxton Hill, the Chiefs, makes a lot of sense. We've seen that a lot. Daxton Hill is special. He played mostly nickel at Michigan, and he's great in man coverage, which is sometimes rare for some of these safeties. Having a guy who can walk up in the box, he can also blitz. He blitzed a bunch at Michigan, very successful doing that. He's going to run maybe one of the fastest 40s at the combine. It will be in the 4.3s, maybe low 4.3s. This dude is a flyer out of high school, 5-star recruit, I think top 15 overall in the country. He just wasn't really playing safety. He didn't play safety at all this year. He was playing nickel, playing man coverage, and he was very good until he got up to some of those top wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith, Jigba, he struggled against. Jahan Dotson in the slot, he struggled against a little bit. But most of the time, he was very solid in man coverage, right in the hip pocket, breaks on balls, has good ball skills. I think 3 picks this year. But as far as him projecting his safety, this dude has range for days. Like with that ball in the air, he's going to go get it. Very, very fast, has good instincts. Like I'm much higher on him. I think he could be a top 20 pick for a team that needs a safety. I'm a huge fan of Daxton Hill. Bengals go get Bernie Ryman. I think the Bengals got to trade this pick for a tackle or go get like Teron Armstead in free agency. I'm a fan of Bernie Ryman. I think he's a little bit of a project though. But the problem is he's 25 years old, coming from Austria. Was a tight end 2 years ago, 250 or 240 pound tight end 2 years ago. He moves well for the new 300 pounds that he put on. That being said, I think he's got another year or two to kind of grow into that frame and figure it out. You need an offensive tackle now. You can't have Joe Burrow behind another offensive line like it was this year. It was a miracle that even got them to the Super Bowl because they just couldn't block. I think Tennessee Titans sacked Joe Burrow 9 times in the playoff game, and they still won. I mean, Joe Burrow is an absolute warrior. He's one of the best quarterbacks in football. He showed that. Go protect him. Like you can't get him hit as much as he was getting hit this year. Malik Willis finally goes off the board in the last pick of the first round. I love that pick. I think if I'm the Lions, I'm kind of maybe looking towards next year. So, okay, one more year sucking, but then you go get a CJ Stroud, then you go get a Bryce Young, who's just some special quarterback talent. But Malik Willis at 32, there's some value. Like we talked about, the traits are there. You start Jared Goff again this year. You maybe suck again. And that's why maybe I'm going with a Chris Olave. Because then if you go get CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, like you have a wide receiver 1. You got TJ Hawkinson, hopefully. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like there's some weapons to start working around with the rookie quarterback. Malik Willis the same way. I don't think this guy can come in and start week 1. He's got a lot of work to do with manipulating pockets, progressing through his reads. Like the game just seems like it's really fast for him. That being said, rifle arm, very good athlete. And so at 32, take a flyer on him. But then there's another voice in my head saying Chris Olave is on the board. Go get a great wide receiver. That's a tough one. Because I don't hate the idea of like taking a swing on a quarterback with such a high ceiling at 32. But you also have a lot of good prospects on the board. Anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comments section. Appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys as usual. If you like the content, please subscribe, like. That means a lot to the boys. And we'll talk to you guys on a later episode. Peace, y'all.